Hello, everybody, and thank you for tuning in. Super excited for this presentation. Had a lot of fun putting it together, and really overall just a great semester. And had a lot of fun in this course, and learned a lot. What I'm going to really touch on in my presentation is microbial evolution. And this is something that we learned very early on and played a big role in the remainder of the course. The only thing that I'm going to really focus on and take a detour of is really how microorganisms came to evolve in the sense of how did they operate as far as photosynthesis goes, when were the first animals, what transitioned into humans. So where did they come from and how have they evolved? As we know, microbes are tiny living things that are found all around us and are too small to be seen by the naked eye. They live in water, soil, and in the air. Contrary to much belief, although some make us sick, many are extremely important to our health. Microbes get a bad rap. Microbes may exist in either their single-celled form or as a colony of cells. So life on Earth is thought to have originated from the oldest single-cell archaea and bacteria. Although a single date is not determined, which is nearly impossible, scientific evidence suggests that life began on Earth nearly 4 billion years ago, somewhere between 3.5 billion and 4 billion. Again, very hard to determine an exact time frame. These microbes left clues of their presence in rocks, called stromatolites, which I will discuss in the next slide. These clues consisted of a type of carbon molecule that is produced by living things. Microbial evidence, as I said, was preserved in stromatolites, which are the oldest fossils on Earth. They are over 2 billion years old and are thought to be primarily responsible for the oxygenation of the atmosphere, which I'll discuss next. Within these stromatolites are microbial mats that are trapped inside layers of sediment. To this day, scientists still study these rare living stromatolite reefs to better understand Earth's earliest life forms. 2 billion years they've been around and they're still being studied. The thing I focused on was really the photosynthesis aspect. This is really when things started to take off. Cyanobacteria became the world's first photosynthesizer. As we know, this is the process of using water, carbon dioxide, and energy harvested from the sun to create food and release oxygen into the atmosphere. Similar to plants, trees, very similar photosynthesis process, and this is where it really began. And so as these microbes began to photosynthesize, more oxygen was steadily released into the atmosphere, and this created a very dramatic rise in oxygen levels. And this dramatic rise in oxygen made the environment very competitive and less hospitable for other microbes that could not tolerate oxygen. So microbes that had been living harmoniously, really just living and being, were not able to tolerate this oxygen-rich atmosphere. And so the ones that were not able to tolerate it died off. But the microbes that were able to lived on. And this dramatic rise prompted new growth and adaptations. New and diverse oxygen-breathing bacteria slowly began to appear. And because of all the new growth, oxygen levels really started to stabilize because now you have organisms that can all tolerate oxygen. And this set the stage for more complex life to start forming. Take a big leap here. We're going to fast forward 2 billion years. Microbes are now breathing carbon and emitting oxygen. These microbes begin living inside of other microbes, where they function as organelles. And again, as we know, organelles are specialized structures that perform various jobs inside of cells. One, for example, mitochondria, is an organelle that processes food into energy. And this evolved from these mutually beneficial relationships. And for the first time, DNA became packaged in nuclei. These new complex cells containing all these organelles, a DNA-packed nucleus, and a nuclear membrane, along with more specialized parts, began to really work in harmony. These parts played specific roles within the cell. And as we've learned, eukaryotes are organisms whose cells possess a nucleus. They include multicellular organisms such as plants, animals, and fungi. At this point, cells begin living together and benefiting from one another. There's a support system now. They start helping one another like a big community. They begin to support the needs of the group by each cell doing a specific job. Some of these cells made junctions, while some of these cells made enzymes to break down food. Clusters of cells working harmoniously, this big support system all working together, became the first animals. Scientific evidence suggests this happened roughly 800 million years ago. While there is still much debate over when exactly these animals first emerged. As science evolves, so do time frames. And I guess you can take a wild guess at what the first animal is here, based on our little friend SpongeBob. The first animal known were sponges. Now, sponges obviously did not look like him, but you get the picture. Now, we'll take another big leap. From sponge to human, with a lot of stuff in the middle. The first humans emerged in Africa around 2 million years ago. Scientists still don't know exactly when or how the first humans evolved. What they do know is how complex and fascinating the human body is, and what it's capable of. Not only that, but now microbes are interacting with us, and we are interacting with microbes. So from this small microbe to this wildly plain animal to this incredibly complex human, all of which still interacting with this very small microorganism. Microbes and the bad microbes. As I said earlier, there is a lot of false pretense around microorganisms, mainly viruses. And while viruses persist as a clouded negative perception of microorganisms, there are in fact so many benefits to microbes in our body. The majority of our microbes are harmless and help to maintain our health. The microbes of the skin, mouth, and nose fight against bad bacteria that want to enter the body to cause disease. And so what I want to do now is look briefly at what we started as this small microorganism, essentially not doing much, starts to photosynthesize, starts to take in carbon and sunlight and emit oxygen, creates this oxygen-dense atmosphere. From that, cells start to grow, communicate, support each other, and then we end up here, the first animal, the sponge. Further, we are here as humans, these complex, fascinating things. And at the same time, it's full circle. We're benefiting from these microorganisms that started it all. We are the microorganisms that existed here first. Thank you everybody for tuning in. I hope everybody has a fantastic summer, and I hope you enjoyed the presentation.